Well, if I wanted to become famous, I would be a serial killer. Unfortunately, I don't have any interest in fame.
Out of the millions and millions and billions of people or whatever there are in this world, there's like 30 serial killers, maybe, right?
Right.
But everybody thinks there's like a million running around everywhere, like capturing everybody and stealing.
Well, and what they don't understand is every podcast talks about the same like series of murders, and then a Netflix show comes out, but it's based on that one story, or it's based on those two stories, or then they do a series of true crime, and it's they're all based on the same ones. But then it's like all this content and all these podcasts are talking about it, and it's like, we've already heard this story. It's just being told in another way, or it's told with different information. So,
yeah. And do you listen to a lot of true crime?
I do not. My wife is obsessed with it.
Dude, it's so funny. Mine, might be beyond obsessed with it. It's really quite freaky.
Are you familiar with Crime Con?
No.
Don't ever let her go there. I am fully convinced it is put on by a want-to-be murderer that will just bring all these unsuspecting women to a conference and then go, hey, come record a podcast in my hotel room. But there is a conference for true crime fanatics where they just get together and all go over this stuff.
That sounds suspiciously
scary. It was in Nashville last year, and Delaney very much wanted to go.
Yeah, are you in Nashville? You're in Texas, right?
No, yeah, I'm in Austin.
Yeah, so I thought. I know we talked about that. All right, so let me give you a quick background. So I'm doing a 30-day series on men with families. So here's what I've noticed, okay? I follow a ton of thought leaders. And the reason is because I've gone through a huge growth process, and actually following up and coming thought leaders, current ones, and coaches, life coaches, has helped me, go through the process. But one thing I'm realizing, and challenge me if you can on this, a lot of them, most of them are either single or they might have an intimate partner. So they're talking about 2-hour morning routines, journaling for a half hour every night, having, trust me, I love their message. We need more of these people, right? The more, the merrier. But then they're also talking about, having that relationship where you're communicating so strongly and just giving each other freedom to travel and discover each other's dreams and be the best that we can be in our health and work, and just build our career. And and a lot of it is based around them being single or maybe having an intimate partner. So I wanted to showcase, and there's a reason why this is happening, I wanted to showcase the reality of real fucking life. Like people,
or if they're in a relationship, it's in a more of a professional relationship where they're dating someone, but there's like separate houses, or they have almost completely separate lives, or it's like my partner does this, and it's not like they're living and breathing and sharing everything together. Because in the same way, there's a lot of people that yes, I have my partner, and when we connect, we do these things, but we see each other 2 days out of the week or something like that, and it's like. Yeah. Try waking up every day.
Yeah.
or wanting them to wake up every day with you. But
it's a challenge. And so I wanted to interview people that are either married or divorced and remarried, whatever, but also have kids. And I wanted to just get the real life of someone like you and someone like me who are trying to better ourselves, keep our weight off and stay healthy and be a good husband and be a great father and build our career and be creative. You know what I mean? And handle our finances and also be a good friend, because you gotta have a social life too somewhat. Otherwise you're going to go insane. So all this stuff that I want to get into the minds and the heads of real people with families, kids that are doing this stuff and what it's all about. So I'm doing a 30-day back-to-back, 30 days straight in April or March, where I'm just going to release an episode every day for 30 days. You kind of inspired me with your videos back-to-back. Just want to let you know that. And so, and also I was inspired by somebody asking me a question on a podcast I was on recently. They were like, all right, it's so easy for people who have made money to do this stuff. And it's so easy for, and all this stuff. And I was like, shit, you're right. you're right. Like, well, let's talk about real people that are going through all this shit. So
Okay,
anyway,
but I will challenge you on that, because there is a point of not saying real people, but because there's the same throwaway in like the creative industry and like the filmmaking industry that is
okay.
very much like, I started in the film industry after I already had a partner and then like 2 years in we started having kids.
Yeah.
And there's these people that are like, oh, I'm jumping out to Bali. Oh, I'm like, running off to, South Asia. Oh, I'm like doing all these things. And it's like, dude, I've got a mortgage. I've got another business. I've got kids. I've got a partner. I've got, all these bills. Like, a little more of like back in my day mentality. And it's like, I've had to work myself out of that, because it's like, if they're going to do it, what I was doing in year 7 and year 1, like fantastic, let them do it. So it's like, I can't go, this is real life and what they're doing isn't real life. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah. And
Like there's a little bit of that, like,
yeah.
because I understand like what you're saying is like,
what about everyday
like, how do we do that? Yeah, but what's to say the single person that's hustling isn't an everyday person? Like,
yeah.
so I'm saying, I get what you're going at. How do
Yeah.
we do this when let's say we bought into, or not even bought into, but like our lives look so different than a single entrepreneur? How do we do this when like our lives have so many different facets? Because what kind of like comes to mind even then is like, you're comparing. How do we stay passionate when we have all these other things? Single people also have all those same problems, like depression, money, alcoholism, like all this stuff that people that have partners and kids and all that, bad time management, like it's we're all in the same boat, even though we look at it and go, because I did the same thing for years, like, God, I wish I could be single with the career that filmmakers have now, because I can go, oh, what am I doing tomorrow? I don't know. Let me jump on a plane and go film something. Like, I can't do that. They can, but they don't come home to a life, a fulfilling partner, comfort, safety net, everything else that I've built that has bills. So I'm just saying, keep that in mind, especially with your verbiage, like that comparison, because I never want to like turn people off and go, we're struggling over here and y'all don't understand our struggles. Dude, we don't understand coming home at the end of every day after a hard shoot and not having anyone there. So
yeah.
Anyway,
dude, I love it. I appreciate that. And and the videos I've created, like 3 or 4 to showcase the series, I've said that please challenge me on what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. So I appreciate that's good. That's huge advice there. So do you meditate, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll ask, I want to the first question I want to ask you, and I mean, I might even use some of that content we just had, but the first question I want to ask you, is Phil cool or?
Yeah.
Okay. Phil, the first question I want to ask you today for being on my podcast, buddy, is the following. When you wake up in the morning right now, all right, when you wake up, what makes your heart sing? Like, why do you get up? What makes it beat out of your chest for that day coming up?
Probably the simplest thing is I have never lived this day before. It's very hard to get out of the mentality of I'm waking up to the same exact thing. My routine is incredibly, it's the same thing every single day. And my mind says, I've done this before and the results are going to be the same. And this past year, I've really worked to wake up and go, I've never been in this space before. I don't know what's going to happen. And let me go figure that out. And that's one of my first waking thoughts, especially now that I don't grab my phone first thing in the morning. That's one of my first waking thoughts is like, I don't know what's going to happen today, even though I'm waking up in the same bed, in the same house, with the same people, and I've got to still do my morning routine that is the same. I've got no clue what's going to happen. That gets me excited. That puts a smile on my face every morning. If I'm doing my morning routine, if I'm not choosing a day to sleep in. If I sleep in, then the alarm and the kids, and my brain is going, why am I waking up this morning?
So, so for people listening to this, I know this is really cheesy or whatever, but a lot of times I've gotten people that literally, I think they would stop me and go, "Oh, hey, Macklemore, where's Ryan?" or whatever his sidekick is, right? For years when Macklemore was really popular. Phil, who's on the podcast right now, he also looks, and I say this, I see these faces getting a little red as I say it, but it's like, has anybody ever said that to you?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
A
we
lot
kind of
have.
I see, we kind of look like each other a little bit, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because our lives kind of reflect each other because of what you just said. So I will ask you, did you do your morning routine this morning?
Yeah,
Awesome, awesome. What's that
yeah.
look like?
Um, I usually wake up, and I have to wake up before the kids. The kids wake up at 7,
Okay,
and so on the days I don't have my routine, I'm usually waking up at 6:55 and just waking up, taking a moment, deep breath, and then walking in to get them up. But I'll usually wake up. I put coffee on for my partner Delaney, and then I'll have a glass of water and I'll go meditate for about 20 minutes. And that'll like reset my day. I'll do a little bit of writing afterwards. If it hits me, I'm still getting back into journaling. I used to journal a lot, and so I'm getting back into like writing and just making that a practice. But right now, it's just like if it hits me, and so I've got enough time of kind of a cushion between when I finish meditating and then when I'm kind of like easing back into the family routine that starts at 7.
that's cool. One of the most popular questions I get from people, from my audience, is how do you meditate? So I like to ask that question. Do you just close your eyes and sit down in a specific spot every day? Do you press play on your phone for a recorded meditation? What do you do?
So lately, I've actually been doing guided meditations.
Okay.
Before, probably for the last 6 or 7 months, I just been meditating with like a centering mantra of just a phrase I repeat in my head. And I was doing about 10 or 15 minutes, and I'm trying to push past like 20 and into 30 right now. So, but yeah, usually I'll do it here in my office. It's just up against the wall
Mm.
because I'm still working on this like straight, like the physical part of it, like a straight spine and just a very comfortable seating. And if it's not here, if the weather's good in Texas, it's very all over the place and moody. So, but if it's not that, I'll go out and do it on my front porch. It kind of looks out towards the green belt. So I'll just sit there and just meditate with that. So if I do a guided meditation, I'll put my AirPods in and just let that,
Cool.
let that go through the process. And I've been doing guided just to like extend my time, just to,
Yeah.
because I kind of let my mind wander. Like after the 10-minute mark, I've noticed like I have to work so much harder at like recentering myself. So, and what's that thing about meditation? It's like on good days when I feel like meditating, I go meditate, and when on bad days when I don't, I go meditate.
Yeah, that's a great saying. If you can keep
So,
remembering that. Yeah,
right.
it's funny you said that because your body gets used to the 10 minutes. And at the end, you almost like physically, your mind starts coming back to the body and waking up. And so you have to, if you're so used to the 10, you have to push past what you've been used to. So I totally understand that. Now you recently put a post up about weight loss that you had,
Yeah.
right? So I'll ask you. I don't know you personally. That we just met through Instagram, talked a little bit. So these questions, I don't know. Were you always a heavier child? I mean, were you growing up overweight? I mean, what was the situation there?
No, no. I always grew up pretty slim, pretty active. I played soccer all the way through high school. And when I got out, I was building houses, and I was in the construction trade for a good many years, and even have always just stayed active. But I probably started gaining a little bit of weight after after I got married, and then after probably like 3-4 years into marriage. So I just got up. I got up to like 199,
Oh, okay.
and
That's
and
nice.
and, and,
How
and so
tall are
it
you?
was. I'm 5'7".
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's not, and I carried it all over, but
Yeah.
it wasn't really specifically about the weight. And
Okay.
it's like, there's a lot of work I've done even this year about like, whether I want to identify with like weight loss journey and things like that, because there's a lot
Okay.
of negative and toxic, especially things now in this culture about surrounding weight loss. And so
Yeah.
it was really just, even starting with a trainer, I just wanted to get stronger. I wanted to feel more confident. I wanted to feel
Mm,
strong, and I did not feel that way. And I wanted to eat more foods that actually like made me feel good and like actually fueled my body, and not just like, let me go eat something that tastes good. And so that started last January. We moved from our hometown in East Texas to Austin, uh, 1 year ago this week. Yeah. And so I was just like, let's reset. Let's get out of this like Southern cooking mindset, and let me just like start, let me like kind of start afresh. And I had started my fitness journey 2 years ago, just getting stronger and getting comfortable being in the gym and getting comfortable with kind of pushing my body and things like that. And so, but yeah, over the last year, I lost 40 pounds.
mm,
I'm back down to 160 right now. And now I'm kind of like rebuilding a little bit of the muscle I lost, rebuilding that strength again.
yeah. I love, and I didn't,
Yeah.
the truth is as I asked that question, there was a little uncomfortableness asking it because I wasn't sure how to go about it because I was more curious about a couple things you said. And the reason I'm asking these questions is because for a long time, I never was like heavy, but when it comes to exercise and fitness, I was up and down, right? All over the place. Been a lot more consistent over the last few years. And I attribute that to just staying on a personal growth path, and a lot changing my values and all that. But I wanted to ask you during that time, like, you said you moved to Austin and you kind of used that as almost like a jumpstart shift. What was that when you started your morning routine? Also, I want to see if they were correlated. You know what I mean? You getting healthier, back into shape. Was that correlated with you starting a new morning routine and meditation and all that, or was that just organic?
It was an easy. There was a lot of big shifts in like January to March of last year. So there was a lot of routines that I already had in place. I
Okay.
mean, I've been meditating since I was probably 16,
Oh, no
just on
shit.
and
That's
off, and
awesome.
just kind of like just that journey of like self growth and self discovery started with my dad's midlife crisis when I was 16. So it's like that, like a lot of that trickled into my mindset.
Mm,
But a big thing was just the space we were in, the culture we were in back there wasn't just really conducive to a lot of the personal growth I wanted to do. And there was a lot of just kind of a toxic community and relationships that we had left in that space. And so that was really a time where it was like, let's leave our entire safety net, comfort zone,
yeah.
and then see what really, like, evaluate, audit our processes, see what we want to do, what we want to be, how we want to live. And then a lot of it just over here in Austin, there's a lot more, like healthy foods, healthy eating, clean restaurants that are much more conducive to like the lifestyle, the
Yeah.
energy I wanted to feel. Um, yeah. And then just a very like healthy culture and supportive culture here of like running and cycling and eating clean. And,
Cool. And you
so it
kept
was just
saying
kind of a
we.
big, yeah, me and my partner Delaney.
Yeah, Delaney.
Yeah.
Well, with the reason I'm at, you keep saying, so did you guys, and this is important, I think, in relationships, right? So did you guys like sit down and have a heart to heart while your kids were sleeping, or you know what I mean? Or is it just like you're cooking dinner and you're just having these conversations and passing? You know what I mean?
So I'm the cook in my family.
Okay.
So Delaney just kind of will eat what I cook. So she has her couple meals, and the kids say she's better at some meals than me. But I still don't agree with their
Well, this,
assumptions. But that was a big thing for me. The kids are only 3 and 5. What do they
yeah,
know? I
yeah,
mean,
I get you.
they say she's the best cook. Come on, like
Right.
they don't. They only know two cooks.
But yeah, I mean, like when you
Um,
guys are talking about your like when you decided that you wanted to make this, what did you want out of your life? What kind of things was this a conversation in passing, or was this a conversation that you guys had like a heart to heart after the kids went to bed kind of
um,
thing?
Delaney can eat whatever she wants and not gain a single pound.
Oh, okay, so kind of okay.
She is blessed in that regard. Um, so she lets me kind of just pick where, like, nutrition wise,
Okay.
where we're taking the family. So
All right.
and she's like, if you're gonna cook, that's fine, you do that. She's like, I don't cook, so we kind of have our strengths and weaknesses. We like rely on each other on.
Yeah.
um,
I
but
and
that
I
but
don't.
that's always a constant, conversation, like,
Right.
especially even this year and towards the end of 2019, I was like, hey, um, it's kind of, that's the kind of conversation. It's never always in passing. It's usually kind of like sprinkled into the conversations we have as well. Um, but it's like, yeah, I'd like to move more plant-based. I'd like to move away from, meats and from dairy and things
Yeah.
like that. And a lot of it is like, between me and her, she's like, I don't just have the mental capacity to fight the kids on not drinking milk every day or something like that. So if you want to do that, like, please absolutely do that. I support you. You're kind of the cook and the nutrition expert in the family. Like, we're all for it.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Um, you are currently. We're going to shift a little bit. You're currently creating some videos,
Right.
and this was a big reason why I wanted to have you on this podcast. I thought that what you're trying to do and put out there is out in my um, feeling and opinion is super important. I think there's a huge shift happening personally in the world, or at least the social media world, where you see people becoming more in touch with their emotions, becoming more aware of what they're saying, what they're doing, how they're contributing, how they're acting, and what's important to them. So we need more people like yourself out there spreading their experiences and positivity and awareness. So what is your biggest why behind what you're doing? What are you trying to accomplish? I'm sure there's a selfish reason too, but just like anybody, this podcast, for example, and I'm going to say this so you can comfortably answer this, I guess. I have my selfish reasons of why I'm doing this podcast. Yes, I would love it to grow. Yes, I would love to have an audience and make some money from it someday. I mean, obviously, right? But the secondary or even first part is I want to spread and share what I just mentioned. Like, I want to get the word out there as much as possible of how important it is and how impactful it is to go through a growth and learn from people like yourselves and all kinds of other reasons. But anyway, so I'll go back to your question. Why are you, what are your reasons for doing what
The My selfish reason is probably,
you're
I
doing?
just want to know what happens.
Okay,
Like, I have an intense curiosity of what happens next.
cool.
And I say this a lot, like, I can't make video 100 until I make video 1, until I make video 10.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, I know what growth looks like, and I just want to know what happens next. And there's a big part of me. I've been a filmmaker for 7 years. uh, there's a big part of me that always said, I want to make this, I want to make that. I write down ideas all the time. My phone notes is full of them. And 7 years later, I'm like, yeah, I'm still not making any of those.
Mm,
And so the big start to this was in December. I had an idea, and I was like, I'm growing so much, I'm learning so much, I'm watching these people that produce content and listening to these people that put out podcasts like yourself, and I'm like, I want to do that. I have all these lessons I'm learning. And a friend of mine, Blake, we were discussing these terms back and forth about like a 15-minute podcast, just like a wake up and what happens, something encouraging, something, but easily digestible. And I was like, I can make a 15-minute podcast. I started a podcast at the beginning of last year with a friend of mine in Chicago, but it was like an uncut conversation. They ended up at like 2 hours. And I was like, I don't listen to 2-hour podcasts. So I sat down in December, and I was like, I can do this. There's so much I'm learning that I want to get out. And I sat down and I wrote out 31 ideas, lessons I've been learning. And then I'm coming back and like rewriting my thoughts on them, and then sitting down and recording them. But a big thing was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to make it happen. Like, but my why is, I answered this on an IG Live the other day with my friend Chad Brown. It was like, the people that I've connected with in the past that I find incredibly authentic, I've never been able to describe why that connection was, why I felt enriched, why I felt like just so inspired by them and felt connected to them. And it's that a friend of mine said, real recognizes real. And I use the phrase authenticity invites authenticity. And the more I move into this space of like self-discovery, the more like my authentic self is realized and comes out, and like the lessons I'm learning, I want to share with other people because I want to see that growth in myself, but I also want to invite that growth from other people. And so I recognize that with other people I've connected with, that I'm like, why is that? It's that they're authentic. There's no other side to them. They're just being who they are because they have to be that, because that's authentic to them. And that has invited it out of myself. And I'm like, I want to do that. I don't want to be this big podcaster, this big like self-inspired talker. I don't know if after these 31 videos, I'll ever make videos like this again. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm excited about, is like, I don't know what's next, what comes after this, but I know I'm learning things and I want to talk about it. And I want to invite other people to like share, to talk about that as well. And that's my big why, is like, it's
Cool.
just an invitation for other people to go, yes, I'm learning that too, or that's interesting, I've never thought of that.
That's cool. I like that. You put your hands up like that's it. Yeah.
So,
For people
hey, I
listening.
mean,
Yeah.
it's just like, it was that simple for me. I was like,
Yeah.
that's what I feel,
I
that's what I
love
want
it.
to do, so I'm going to do that. It's just necessary for me.
Yeah. And I love it. And you, when you first said it, you described it as a challenge. And right when in your video, I was following you and you're like, I'm challenging myself to create. And I love that, because I think that with challenges, we grow so much more and so much quicker too, when we actually challenge ourselves instead of constantly staying, I mean, this is cliche, but staying in that comfort zone all the time. So you're really, I mean, you're pushing yourself outside of it. It's a lot of work too, right? To put these videos together, especially as a
Yeah.
creative genius like yourself. You want them to be really nice and perfect, or close to perfect, right?
Well, it's I've been doing this 7 years, so like that part of it comes easy to me. I had a phone call with a
Ah,
with a friend of mine, or a colleague of mine, the other day, that he was like, hey, I want to kind of start doing this as well in my space in business. What does this look like? And I was like, start with your cell phone. Like, you don't need anything else.
yeah,
I'm making these videos and they seem very polished and very on point, but I've been in this space for 7 years. That's the point of growth I'm at. I can easily
yeah,
set up a light and put up a camera and turn the mic on and make it look good. I've been interviewing people for their jobs and businesses for 7 years. Like, that
ah,
comes with growth, of being able to communicate an idea and being able to tell someone, hey, say it this way better. Like, I hear what you're saying, I want you to be more clear.
ah,
That's helped me be able to say, I have this idea, I have this concept, let me use all these skills that I've accumulated over the last 7 years and actually put them to use, and not stumble through a cell phone video. That's not the point of up the ladder that I am. I'm on a
yeah,
different rung. So for him, I was like, start with your cell phone, start with 2-minute videos. Like, I'm putting out 10-minute videos because I can't figure out how to explain my lesson in shorter, like, I'm not wanting to preach in 3 minutes and be like, dude, this is the lesson I've learned. Like, I'm a YouTuber. Like, that's not me. Like, that's not how I feel. So
yeah,
I don't want to communicate like
yeah. And even though it's 8, 9, 10 minutes, I've watched several of them. I told you this. I wish, and I know that you're on a 7, 8 year down the road. I wish I can articulate my thoughts and feelings that way like you do, whether you're writing things down and practicing ahead of time and putting notes or not. You're still saying it in a way that makes sense, that's digestible, and it's something that I am working on myself. And like you said, I love that you said that. You're 7 years down the road, where this person is 1 year. Like, stop trying to make your chapter 1, your chapter 40 or whatever.
that.
How you say
Yeah. I
that,
always
right?
say, and I don't know if this like metaphor actually is realistic, but especially in the filmmaking industry, I learned years ago, and I've used this reference a lot, which is just the ladder. Like, we're on different rungs of a ladder, and it doesn't matter. Like, in the filmmaking industry, like, we look up to these people on the top, and we just like put that on a pedestal, and it's like, I can never do that. Like, I'll never be that good. I'll never be making films like that. I'll never. And it's like, they're on another rung. They're years down the road. They learned at their own pace.
Mhm.
And that's why, and it's like, have some grace for yourself with the rung you're at now. Like, you're just on, we're all on the same ladder. The ladder doesn't stop. There is no like golden egg at the very top. Like, there's just growth. There's just learning. Like, and that's given me a lot of grace to be able to go, I just need to produce the stuff I want to produce right now, and not go, it's not good enough. It's not, like, I'm making a 10-minute video of just me talking in my office.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't have shots of me walking around the city and like, waking up and having coffee and all that. Like, I watch these videos and I'm like, I'd love to show my daily life. I'm not at that point. I'm not at that rung of the ladder.
Right.
Let me just do what I can right now and know that that's enough.
That's such a powerful, great message that we have to honestly keep reminding ourselves. And I remind myself of that multiple times throughout the week, because I catch myself scrolling and seeing a video and be like, damn, I want to get to that level. He's not like, all this influence and all, it's a process. And you keep going, you keep this similar theme as we're talking here. You started with saying you wake up excited for the new day. You don't know what this day is going to bring you. And then you talked about your videos, right? You don't know where these videos are going to take you and what's next. You're just doing them. And then you just mentioned again, you're taking it one day at a time without having to put so much pressure on yourself. And so I like authenticity at its finest right there. I mean, you're there. Have you always been authentic like that? Or was there a time when you wore a mask and were kind of more of like a chameleon adapting to its
Uh,
environment?
we all wear a mask.
Okay.
Doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't. We're all gonna wear a mask. I think. But I think in 2019, I think that was the final one of like, and I've had a lot of things that I talk about, and I've got, I mean, like, I've still got like 27 videos to come out. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to be talking about that's very familiar, but it's like that final mask. Like, how I see it is the final mask that is in the mirror when I wake up in the morning. Like, 2019 was the year I took that off and was like, let's get real with like what that looks like. Because even I would wake up and that mask to me was like everything I wasn't. That's what it looked like. I'd wake up in the morning, walk in the mirror, and not that I couldn't look at myself, but I just wasn't what I wanted to be. I wasn't what I felt. But it was because I wasn't getting curious. Is like, why? What was my why? Why was I here? What was I doing? Did that like connect? Did that match? And so now it was like, and a lot of that had to do with the identity I'd built. Like, I'm a filmmaker. I want to make these, I want to connect my, the video I posted last night was about my worth. Like, well, I posted it this morning about like connecting my worth to the art I create, to the product. And last year was just stripping all of that away and being like, I need to be me now. Like, I need to be okay with me now. So it's like, I've always been on a journey towards that authenticity, but I think 2019 I started learning what that actually looked like, what I actually looked like without that final mask that I'd put up with myself,
Mhm.
and going like, okay, that can come down now. Like, because there was finally a safe space with myself to go, I'm enough to myself at home, by myself, alone, with my own person, and not coming back and going, telling myself all that, because that was the final mask, like that ego, that shadow, that, like of all that. So it's like, I've always been on this journey to be authentic, but I think in this last year, this last 6 months, have finally reinforced, like, I can have a safe space with myself and not have to listen to all that other like thoughts that come in. And now I can live out authentically,
You
knowing
think,
where all that.
do you think a lot of that has to do with, as I listen to you talk about that, do you think a lot of it has to do with dropping the idea of trying to impress other people? Is that a big piece of that, or dropping the idea of worrying about what other people think of you? And that's kind of how you're able to just become your,
There's a part of it. Yeah, there's a big part of it that is what we believe about other people. That I think that just feeds into what we tell ourselves. You know, I think it's what feeds into uh, what we're the biggest thing is like what narratives we're believing that we're telling ourselves. So it's that like I'm not good enough. I am not on the right rung. I don't have everything I need here to be happy. I'm not a unique enough person. Or yeah, and part of that is that projection onto other people of like they think worse of you, or like other people's opinions and all that. And so you know, there's the big like what is it, like ignore the haters and all that, you know, like ignore that noise. And it's like I don't recognize with the idea of like prove that, you know, the like self-help, like prove the haters wrong, like all that. It's like my biggest competitor is the voice in my head that I've believed for so many years about what I can do, what I can't do, how successful I'll be, how much money I'll make, what I can produce, how much, you know, if I'm worthy of love, if I'm worthy of having a, you know, a loving partner, of having kids that adore me. So it's like that, that is what built that mask, that final mask that I believe you have to take down, is that voice in your head that says everything that you know, that society has told us, but it all starts inside of us. And it's like,
yeah. So, okay. So yes, I mean, I'm 100%
topic
on board.
change.
I'm 100% on board with that. And, you know, are there specific, because for me, it's like, I think, you know, you don't just wake up one day and go, okay, I'm dropping it all. This is it. You know, I'm a new man today. I'm a new, you know, God, somebody put up a post. It was hilarious. And my wife reminded me of it yesterday. They, you know, sarcastically put, oh my God, this was on like January 1st. I can't wait to meet all these new people that are in 2020, because everybody's like, new me, 20, you know.
we're all leaving toxic people in the past, and we're
Yeah.
all like, yeah,
I'm going to drink more water. I'm going to work out more. And then, you know, you talk to them like, hey, have you started the new you? Nah, not yet.
yeah,
So, you know,
yeah.
and so
And
how do you,
and part of, go ahead.
well, yeah, I want to ask you specifically the tech, like, are there any specific techniques or any specific things that you did to remove that and get to that through that process faster and stronger?
Two things that come to mind right now. One was I just start doing challenges when I think of them, which is incredibly hard to start practicing. But just like the 31-day challenge, I was like, I'd really like to make new videos. And the next day I was like, okay, let me sit down and write out. When could I do this? I could do 31 days for January. All right, let me write down, and this gives me enough time over the Christmas break to like write it, start talking my thoughts out. Let me do it. Like fitness, it was like I messed up my knee back in probably July, and I was like, I'd really like to start running again. Okay, as soon as as soon as I felt my knee start to like, you know, regain some strength and get some flexibility and mobility, I hit the pavement, you know, and I was like, I'd like to. I've not always identified with a runner, but I love running. Let me go run, you know. And now it's like, what's my normals like? Well, my slow days are like 5 miles.
Wow.
And like a year ago, 1 mile would have been crazy for me.
You just did
But
it.
it's like, but also I've learned, and it's like, there's this theme of lessons you're learning show up in every aspect of your life. Like we want to compartmentalize our work and our personal life and our romantic life and, you know, our friendships. And it's like, if you're needing to learn a lesson, it will show up in every single, you know, aspect of your life. And part of that was, if I don't do something I'm wanting to do, when I think about it, I'll never do it. And that doesn't mean immediately leaving a group of friends and going back and recording a video. That just means if I'm going to write down a concept and say, I want to do this, then by God, I'm going to do everything possible to make that happen. Because the further you get from that idea, the more, oh, I don't have time, or I don't have energy, or I don't have. So it's like everyone going, I'm going to stop. I'm going to do dry January, you know? And there's no comparison of like, absolutely, that is an incredibly hard thing. But I got through the middle of November and thought, I'd really like to stop drinking. Okay. And I just decided, I'm going to stop drinking. And I stopped drinking the week before Thanksgiving. And this is week 6. We're going into week 7 of sobriety. And it's like the lessons I'm learning look different, but but there was such a moment of going, I think that's week 7, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
okay, there's only been 7 weeks. All right, I'm thinking like 3 months since Thanksgiving. Yeah.
But but everyone was going like, I'm on day 3, and I posted about that on my Instagram. I was like, for everyone going into their first weekend, like, you got this. Like, but for me, it was like, let me not wait until January 1.
Right.
I want to do it right now. Like, and the second part of that was and I saw this. There's an account I follow called Create the Love on Instagram, and he's a I guess relationship and intimacy coach, Mark Groves, who's an incredible leader. But he had made a challenge with himself to have every hard conversation. And when I read that, I connected with it so much and I was like, I don't want to make a challenge. I want to make a rule. I'm going to have a rule with myself that I will have every hard conversation. And it has come into play so many times. My coach, Scott McElroy, he's here in Austin. We meet up once. Yeah, I don't know if y'all connected.
I didn't know that he was your coach, but I was connected with him and you, and I saw
you're like, it makes sense now.
I see all of these. Yeah, I totally see this. Yeah.
But we meet once a week, and one of our meetings, I noticed he was like, hey, do you want to talk about this? And I was like, nah, like, I'm okay. Like, I'm fine. And like 20 minutes later, I was like, no, let's talk about this. Because my mind said, no, I don't want to talk about it. That means there's something there. Like, that's resistance. Let me get into that. And then towards the end of that same conversation, he was like, hey, do you want to like get focused a little more on finances, a little more on like growth? And I was like, no, like, like, we're dealing with some other stuff. That's fine. And like 3-4 minutes later, I was like, you know what? No, let's get more focused on finances. My brain is saying no for some reason. I don't know why that is, but like, we're going to do it. And like, that rule has been uncomfortable, has been hard, has been like just infuriating at times. Even with my partner, conversations that I have to have, and I go, oh, it'd be comfortable to leave this and just let the dust settle and like move on and try to give, instead just being like, no, I've got to go back in there and have this conversation, and I don't want to have it, but I know there's growth on the other side of that. And that's what I want. And the same as like the challenge of 31 videos. Yeah. It's like, I'm not going to want to do this every day. I'm not going to want to sit up, talk, go over my lessons, but like, I made a rule that I have to have that hard conversation. And that has meant so much change in me. Like, going, do I want to stop drinking? I really like alcohol. I've never really had a bad issue with alcohol. I'd really like to know what's on the other side, though, of sobriety, of what my relationships look like without alcohol. Do my friendships last? Does the culture I've built around me crumble if we're not going out to get a drink every week? Let me figure out what's on the other side of that. And that's a hard conversation I have to have with myself at times. Yeah. But you can't run, right?
100%. Let me ask you something. Have you hung out with your friends since your sobriety challenge? Have you went out where they were drinking and you weren't yet?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And
I was like, it was week 1. I posted the video, I'm quitting alcohol.
Yeah.
And I think 2 days later, there was a filmmaker meetup, and they were like, hey, we're all meeting up. Like, let's get together and just kind of hang out. And it was at a beer garden. And I was like, cool, I'm there. Like, I know the point of avoiding it isn't like, let me get it all out of the house. Let me like never go to a brewery. I'm in Austin. There's a brewery on every corner. Like, that's it. And it's so part of the culture. But I was like, no, I don't have to drink. I can get a root beer. Like,
how did you feel when you first when you're driving there, you're getting close and you're about to walk in? Did you have anxiety? Was there like a feeling of, man, I wonder if these people will It's not the normal me who would have 4 or 5 drinks and hang out and laugh, and it's going to be a different person walking in there. You know what I'm not different
No,
person, but
yeah,
different. You know what I mean?
no, it didn't. There wasn't. I'm not naturally an anxious person.
Okay.
Um, so there wasn't too much anxiety. It was more just kind of like the narrative in my own head of like, let me really pay attention to what happens. Am I as enjoyable? Am I as, and not really like my impact on other people, but it's like, alcohol is this like social lubricant, like
Hmm.
let me get a drink in me, and like then I get lively, and then we get
Yeah.
fun, and then we can have a good time. And I'm like, I can be that way anyway. I don't need that lubricant to like just open up and like feel, like be social and be happy and like telling jokes. I don't need that extra. Um, and that's every part of like my 2019 was like, let me see what happens without this. I'd really like to not have a reliance on this thing. And so going into those spaces, it was like, no, it's okay. I don't mind if you drink. Absolutely, have a drink. I'm not going to do that. Let's have fun anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's been some noticeable differences, I think, of because in drinking culture, it's kind of and Austin is a very heavy drinking culture with
Sure.
the breweries and wineries on every corner, and just most big cities are, but of just it being a kind of like not time waster, but it's like it's very easy to go, let's go have some drinks here, and then an hour later, like, we're going to go over here and have some drinks, and then all of a sudden you spent 4 hours and all you've done is small talk and drink. And it's like, so more along the lines for me, it's like, I want more quality connection, I want more
Mm.
meaningful
It's not serving
conversations.
you the way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want more of that authentic connection, and in that
Yeah.
way, that's an avoidance of friendship, of connection, of things
Yeah.
I want to like get into. I don't want to meet up with every single person and like, man, let's talk about life and get deep about our connections and our goals, and like, that's not me.
Yeah.
I can absolutely just have a great surface level conversation, but at the same time, I'm not going to go out for 4 hours, wake up the next day and go, did I just waste an entire evening of my life just having drinks? Every now and then, that's good. That's what you need,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not as a basis of friendship, but not as a
You,
basis of human connection.
it's really interesting you're bringing this up, because you're the thing about it is that I'm noticing is you're aware that you were doing that, right? And that's where mindfulness comes in, because we mindlessly, guilty of this 100%. I would go to a conference
Absolutely.
and mindlessly get hammered and waste those times. And then I wake up, I wouldn't think, oh, I just wasted 4 or 5 hours of my life with drinking, and now I feel like crap and my day's going to be crappy. I'm like, it's just the way it is. Alcohol makes things fun. Alcohol calms me down. Alcohol makes me more sociable. And when you change that script, like you just said, and you say, alcohol doesn't make me more fun. I don't need alcohol to calm me down. There's other things I can do to calm me down. That's when you change your relationship with it, and that's so cool
Yeah.
that you brought that up. Now,
And
don't
this
get
is
me
and
wrong.
this isn't an over it's not it's not like an overgeneralization I'm making here. This is all about me, like the lessons I'm learning all about me.
Sure, sure.
And I have to get away from like having that narrative of like, this is what alcohol is for
Yeah,
everyone,
I get
and all that, and any judgment on anyone that drinks. And it's
none.
like, yeah, my wife, I mean, my partner Delaney still has a glass of wine. I'm like, do that. Like, that's you. Like, I have no judgment towards
Right.
anyone else. This is my journey
Yeah.
of going,
Yep.
I'd
I
like
love it.
to know what my life looks like without this thing.
I love it.
And I'm
Yep.
curious about what's going to happen, and I'm curious about what I'm going to learn. And that has no, that's that, but I have to be careful not to project any of that onto anyone else, because
Right.
then
Especially in today's society.
that creates that disconnection,
Yeah. 100%. And there are people that do that. They project it. It's uncomfortable, and you don't like to be around those people. And yeah, and that's exactly the same. Because I mean, dude, why would we? Just because we're on this journey, I always say to myself, just because I'm at this point in my journey in life, why would I judge somebody else that is doing something that I always did anyway? And what, you know what I, like,
Yeah.
then we're just judging ourselves a year ago or whatever, you know, or now or in the future. Heck, you might start drinking again in the future. What do you know? You don't know what the hell life's, you know what I mean? So why would you start? It's like, okay, I was talking to somebody about morning routines, right? And they're like, yeah, when I first did my morning routines, I was preaching about it. I'm like, you got to get up an hour early. You got to do your meditation, your journal. And then like I did it for like 3 months, and then I haven't done it in the last 3 months. So who am I to like judge all these people and push it on them? And then all of a sudden now I'm not doing it. Like we have to remember that it's just like, it's, yes. So
Well,
I'm
and
so glad.
that's part of like the process. Like
Yeah.
my process isn't going to work with, I mean, that's what we learn from like nutrition and fitness growth and like, and all these things is like, my process isn't going to be everyone's process. And
Right.
like that's really relevant in like YouTube culture of like, do these steps and this will happen. Like, well, they all want to preach that like lesson. And it's like, dude, we're all unique and individual. There's never been anyone like me, Phillip. There never will be anyone like me, Phillip. My process is going to be exactly my own. Yes, there are lessons that we can learn from
Oh, yeah.
everything, you know,
Yeah.
but absolutely this is my own process. And what's crazy is we can go through, I mean, me and you can go through the exact same experience. We could get together, you know, go out to like Sedona, have this experience in the vortex, do the exact same thing, and both have just completely 180 different experiences. And
When are
that's
we
what's
going, dude?
amazing. That's
When
what's
are we going?
incredible, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go this year. I got
Let's go.
time.
Let's go. Let's go.
Just a couple of Macklemore lookalikes, man. We'll call them up. We'll all meet up in Sedona. Let's do it.
let's start a Macklemore lookalike mastermind where we all just get
No,
together.
that's art. I'm sure that already exists.
I don't. And then people just look at us like we're walking around in some bars on what the heck is happening over here.
He sings about in one of his songs, everybody getting the Macklemore haircut.
Uh,
It's very true. Like it existed before him, but he definitely helped push that culture along. So,
and I had it like the tight up and like,
yeah, I've gotten away from it, but yeah, there's like every part of that is going, and like I don't wish this journey on anyone that's not looking for it, that's not curious about it, that isn't, you know, like I'm, and even that's a constant conversation, and that's especially something that with me and my partner, we've always realized that me and Delaney will always be on separate journeys, even though we're together, even though we've created something together, like spiritually, we're always going to be on at different points. And I think that's really important to understand in a partnership, in a relationship, in a marriage, in however you identify that. There is it's not necessary to go, we have to be in agreement and at the same space and in this same growth area. I'm going to be at a different point in my fitness and nutrition journey than Delaney is. I'm going to be at a different point in my mindfulness and my meditation and in my self-growth than she is. But for me, I have to do what's authentic to me. Yeah. And be able to communicate that with her. And in the same way, she has to be able to do what's authentic to her and communicate that with me. So right now, like 2019 for me is going, what have I relied on with my body, with my mind, that I can go, let me remove that and see what happens. You know, like it started with, well, I mean, like I've got a couple pounds, like let's get stronger. I didn't have a weight goal I needed to hit. Let me become stronger. Let me add in, I want to work out. I want to feel good. I want to gain strength. Let me make that a part of my life. Let me cut sugar out. Like, what does my life look like without sugar? And it was crazy. I just had a day 2 days ago where I met up with a friend of mine. We took our kids to this little ice cream shop, and I had a scoop of ice cream. And afterwards, I was like the Red Bull dude. I mean, like really? I was like, what is going on? She was like, you had a scoop of ice cream. And I was like, God, that's just pure sugar. Like, I don't eat sugar anymore. I was like bouncing off the wall, but it was like, what does my life look like without sugar? What does that look like? What does my life look like without dairy, like specifically in nutrition wise? Now it's, what does it look like without alcohol? Now lately it's, what does it look like without my cell phone? Like I'm removing myself from the equation. I'm taking it out of my bedroom. I'm not waking up with it every morning. I'm not going to sleep with it. I'm not having it in there when I'm with my partner. I'm not. And then it's like in conversations as well. Like I met a friend of mine yesterday, no, 2 days ago, and he's a new friend. He's another filmmaker. He's really inspiring to me. But I had my phone like in with my stuff in the other chair, and we'd met at this coffee shop, and he'd pulled his phone out and just checked it once and put it on the table. And I was like, hey, we don't really know each other well enough, but I'm going to ask you to put your phone back in your pocket. And he was like, okay. And I was like, this isn't a judgment, but I was like, but I'm doing a video also on what our conversation, our empathy with the person we're talking to, our connection, what that does, what the studies have come back with about just having that phone present. I don't want to be that person anymore that checks out, that connects with something else. So that's another thing that I'm doing is what does my life and connection and community look like without that phone? Especially with my partner, especially in my home life, especially with my kids. What does that look like to not have my phone present?
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's an example of that would be when you go out to dinner with your partner and they go to the bathroom. And what is the first instinct for all of us to do? As soon, like literally the second they get up out of there, boom, pull the phone out, check text messages, Facebook, Instagram, right? So to relate to you, Phil, the other day we went to dinner. This is probably 4 days ago, and she went to the bathroom. She's actually one of my wife's new goals for 2020 is to drink more water. She doesn't drink enough water. And so she bought a huge jug and she's been carrying it around with her and doing really well with it, which is, important. That was just one of the things. On top of learning how to play the ukulele, she picked up something that she wanted to try new and she's becoming really good at it in like short weeks.
It's amazing.
Great. Yeah, it's great. She's got a Jason Mraz song down. She's got like Twinkle Twinkle. I mean, she's good. And she's got a beautiful voice. So it's really, I told her yesterday she was playing it.
Yeah, she's got a Jason Mraz song and Twinkle Twinkle.
Yeah,
just those. Like
that's it too.
Don't shortchange her here. Like those are two songs she didn't know before she started.
Oh hell no! Like I'm impressed as hell. I told her, I think I'm falling in love with you all over again. As she's like strumming her ukulele, singing, it was beautiful to our kids. But to go, so I actually noticed I was about to grab my phone when she went to the bathroom, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to sit here in my own thoughts and just wait. And honestly, it was like fine, but it was weird. It was just a weird process. But things like that, little moments like that I think make all the difference in being aware and mindful and of what you're doing every day. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
You can't be in the moment when you're on your phone. It's just not possible.
No.
And so getting really mindful about that and getting really, really intentional about the impact that has on other people. Has made a lot of difference to me. And that causes tension with people. That causes tension in your relationship. If you're not on the same page and if your friends aren't on the same page.
So I want to ask two questions before we get into a tangent, because we're coming up. I like to keep these about an hour. We're coming up very shortly. I'm going to end with two questions. And the first one, we can talk about this a little bit. What is, like we've talked about a lot, but I want to know something maybe we didn't talk about, your biggest struggle right now. Like one of the things that is a daily or weekly struggle, and it can be through parenting, it can be through a relationship with your wife or your career, friendships, whatever. What comes to mind as something you're really just struggling with right now?
It's a constant with even the things I mentioned in here of being on a journey of growth while being, especially now for me, while being in a relationship. Even what I just mentioned about like being, cause that's the constant lesson, but also that is a constant practice of really being, just giving myself grace in being in a partnership and giving my partner that grace as well, to know that we're on different levels. We're in different spaces. Mm-hmm. And that is a constantly challenged movement for me, with her, with Delaney, with the kids, to put what I've, not to put into practice. I am putting these things into practice, but to constantly do it out of love and not reacting, when my process clashes with her process,
Mm-hmm.
with when those projections come into play, when I'm like, I'd like to have time without my phone. And she's like, I'd like to have my phone with me,
Mm.
and going like that. Those look like two different growths, and both of those are okay. And that being a tension that in a partnership with another person, I have to be accepting of, and I'm not always accepting of that. And I fall into that judgment, and I fall into that me projecting what I think she should react with and not what she's reacting with. Or I fall into myself becoming judgmental about her or about how she's responding to what I'm doing, or um, and then like not fighting with, but having that tension with the kids as well. Like kids are and we haven't touched on this, kids are like the most acute practice of mindfulness, especially when they're younger, especially at the ages our kids are.
Yeah. I mean,
You cannot leave the present moment with kids. Like they know,
instant.
like,
It's like,
like, like they know the second you have left the building.
oh my God.
And yeah, and that's it. What that reminds me of is, I knew a guy, a bit of an entrepreneur from years back, and he was always really good with people, really in touch with people. But the minute you lost eye contact, like the minute he was looking at you and then just kind of looked away and just kind of, he was gone. Like, not the conversation was over, but you could tell, like, nope, he's kind of on to the next thing.
Yeah.
That's how it is with kids. It's like the minute they're like, Dad's here with me, we're playing a game. And then I pull my phone out and like that mood just shifts like instantly.
Instantly.
And all of a sudden it's like, Dad, 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 hey, hey, hey. And they get aggravated. And it's
Or
like,
if you like wander
kids can
off.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, kids can just like get this energy that adults do not see, because we have this extra like consciousness and internet dialogue and all that kids don't have yet at that point. They don't have that ego and that identity and all that to deal with, and what's going on else in the world. And like, they're just there. They're just, so it's like kids, that tension with them of like constantly having to go like, and that's especially hard with challenging any of my processes, is like, you wake up every day and you go, this is a new day. And it's like slap in the face. Your kids are there and they're screaming for breakfast. Things have not changed. Like, you can feel as much change as you want. You can go, I am a new me, like regardless of January 1st, like I am coming into this authentic person. And it's just every day, it's like a brick in the face. Like, yo, Dad, we want breakfast. We want it now. And we don't understand why you don't already have it ready. And it's just like, okay, cool. Like I thought I was Zen. I thought I was Zen before, but I've definitely got a center right now.
Yeah, so
And that's a
funny.
constant practice with both of those, with being in a partnership, with
Yeah.
having kids, of like, it doesn't matter how good you think you are at these processes. That will test and challenge you, and that tension does not go away.
Yeah. I love it. That was so, I'm glad you brought that up. You're like, woo. You
It's
know,
like,
I
let me just take a deep breath on
take a
that one.
deep
Like,
breath. I said to my daughter the other day, I go, honey, you know that I love you. And for some reason, every time I just randomly walk over here to pull out to text somebody or check something, you're daddy, 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 like instantly. I go, I don't know why that is, but this happens all the time. So I'm sorry. And I put my phone down and I like called her out on it. Like, so they do. It's just, and then what happens is that and what happens is now you're in a different mental space, right? Because you're texting or your like mind thinks about something that needs to get done later or something that happened earlier, a fight you had and your daughter's trying to play with your son. And now you're in a whole different mental space temporarily. And then they come into that mental space. And that's when like triggers happen and frustration, your ego, and everything starts getting in the way, and it just all goes to shit. So you have to take that moment to that gap, I like to say, where between the decision you're about to make, the reaction you're about to have, and how you're triggered, and take that deep breath or quick breath and realize that you don't have to react defensively or angrily, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's been really like because we've been really specific about like our wording and our verbiage as we've got these young kids. You know, our kids are 3 and 5, I think, just like yours, and it's like sometimes me and especially my partner Delaney, like we'll say, "Hey, Spencer, we just I need a moment of space. Like I just need a little space from you," and like we've started to hear that back from them as well. And it's like, Spencer, is everything okay? They'll be overreacting or something like that. And I'll be like, I just need a little space, Mom. And it's just like, and we're just like,
Awesome.
that's healthy. Yes, go take that space. Like that's
that.
good. But especially with them learning like younger, like when you're feeling overwhelmed, have that space, take that space. That's good. So yeah,
Cool, man.
it's
I mean,
fun,
that, if
man.
your
It's a
kids are going to
blast.
repeat something, that's not a bad thing for them to repeat, you know?
They're repeating enough cuss words from us. It's good that they're getting a couple nuggets from me and
Yeah,
Delaney.
man.
So
Beautiful. Thank you for being so vulnerable with that answer, by the way, talking about your
yeah.
relationship and your kids. And the final thing I want to ask is, if you can go back and tell your 18-year-old self something, and your 18-year-old self would listen, like they would take this advice, what would you, what little nugget would you give them? What would you tell them?
Oh man, that's something that I've done a lot of work with because there's my coach Scott always says like there's that person inside of you that like needs healing. And what does that person look like? How old is he? And it's always I identify with maybe not even an 18-year-old, but like a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old Phil. And like, dude, I would just shower that kid with so much love. Like I identify so strongly with just like wrapping my arms around him and just like bringing him in and just being like, you're enough. You don't have to be anything else. You don't have to be anything different than what you are right now. Like I was so, especially getting out of 18, 19 into 20s, I was so like wanting to be this image of something I wasn't, wanting to be this like, like needing to be this image of success or that I've got it together or I've got it, and just really, really like honing in and just going like, let me love on you first off. Let me like accept you. You're enough. You're worthy already just by existing. But also you don't have to be anything else. What you are in the moment is enough because that's all you have in the moment. Because I just spent too many years not feeling worthy, not feeling that love from myself, and thinking I had to be something else, thinking I had to be somewhere else, thinking I had to be at another rung of the ladder, thinking I had to be further down the road than I was. And it negates so much of our journey when we're not where we're at right now. And yeah, that kid was too worried about everything else. He was worried about his own hurts. He was worried about not being loved enough and not finding love and not being successful or being enough ever. And just to go back and tell him that you're enough in that moment, you're enough now.
Yeah.
That would be, yeah.
Sweet.
Dude,
Yeah.
I just love on that kid, man. I
That's
love on
great.
that 18-year-old
I
Phil.
love
Like
you
he was the boss.
That's great, man. I mean, love, all that stuff that you mentioned. It actually, while you say that, it makes me like it was making me like breathe calmly, notice my breath, and just be in the present moment and realize that what we're doing right now, this conversation, this is what's happening. This is enough. This is like, and then, once we hang up, the next step is where we're at, and everything's enough. Everything's the way it's supposed to be. And you just have to keep Yeah, man, that's great. I mean, that was just so good. Like, thank you. You brought me some peace and calmness there as you said that. So cool.
Well,
Well,
just let me. I'm
listen.
like
Yeah,
you've created this space, and that's really special. That touches me. Your authenticity, like I mentioned, like that has invited it out of me. And so, like, yeah, let me just give you a little bit of love, because like this is something you intentionally do. You're very
yeah,
mindful about, but like this space you create for other men, for other fathers, for other business owners, and just people that are in their journey to get somewhere, to be better, to like
yeah.
listen and breathe deeper and like feel love and lead with that love. You're an incredible leader in that space, and I appreciate that.
Oh,
I appreciate
thanks.
you in this space.
Thanks. Appreciate that. It's, to one thing I want to say on that is finding, and I think you're probably going through similar thing, is like finding that happy medium of being, mindful, being thoughtful, being kind, and then also being more, yourself, your own personality too, and combining the, making sure that that's the authentic message you're trying to create. Because I'm naturally outgoing, naturally like to make jokes and all that, and you can't lose that side of you. You know what I mean? As you go
Yeah,
through a process,
that
you
play,
learn.
that's play.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fun.
that's awesome you said that, because I think that so like people are missing the word play in all of this journey of growth. That's so that we could talk about that for an hour.
Well,
Don't get me started.
the journey. I'll just say this: the journey is to make that work. The
Yeah,
work me and you are doing right now. That's hard. That takes time. It's just like working out. That it hurts. It's muscle. It's growth. It's stretching and breaking and regrowing, and then eventually that becomes play.
yeah. Make a video
Eventually
on
that
that, would
becomes
you?
play.
Can you
And
make a
that
video on that?
don't. You don't know what's on my board. You don't know what my list looks like. Just stay tuned, okay? You don't know what I've got
Stay in
coming
your
up.
lane, Justin. My man. All right, dude. That was cool. Thank you so much. That
Yeah.
was a good back and forth, good conversation. I had no idea where this would go and where I wanted to go, but I love it, man. I think people enjoy this. Two dudes just talking and having a real heart to heart. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'll stop this recording here.